Let us continue the same chapter, his first flight. In your last class, you heard about the seagull which was afraid to fly. The seagull's family consisted of 6 members: mother, father, 3 sons, and 1 daughter. All of them except the youngest son are expert in flying high. His parents have tried several times to teach him how to fly, but he is scared to do that and does not want to try anymore. He relies on the food that his parents bring back from their flights. The youngest son is afraid of flying as he thinks that if he flies, his wings would not support him and he would fall down in the sea below and get drowned. Even his parents have rebuked him. They even threatened him if he does not fly, he would die of hunger. But he does not try. After so many failed attempts, his parents left him alone on the rock without food. They even taunted him for his cowardice. The young seagull looked at his brothers and sister enjoying swimming, diving in the sea water for fish to feed themselves, but no one came near to him to offer food. As time passes, the young seagull could not tolerate the hunger and the heat. He moved closer to the ledge and pretended to fall asleep, but nobody took notice of him. Let's continue reading. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still they took no notice of him. He saw his 2 brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. "Ga, ga, ga," he cried, begging her to bring him some food. "Coca-Cola," she screamed back derisively. But he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. As the time passes, the young seagull could not tolerate the hunger and the heat. He moved closer to the ledge and pretended to fall asleep, but nobody took notice of him. His brothers and sister have already enough a hearty breakfast, and father seemed busy in admiring and cleaning the feathers on his back. The mother looked at him and tried to tempt him with the pieces of fish. His begging and crying did not affect her. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within the reach of his beak. He waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. Then a monstrous terror seized him, and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. "Ga, ga, 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 cola." His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. The young seagull was very hungry. He was surprised enough at his mother's ignorance of his pitiful condition. Thus he dives for food. He begins to fall down with a scream as soon as he dives. The young seagull begins to fall in the sea. He is afraid of drowning, so he tries to spread his wings outwards and begins flying. He feels a little dizzy, but all his fear vanished. He soars slowly downwards and upwards. He could finally fly on his own. The seagull becomes so happy and soars higher, calling ga ga ga. It was really a joyous moment for the whole family. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. Then he completely forgot that he had always been able to fly. He had not always been able to fly, and commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. His parents and his brothers and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger and could not rise, exhausted by the strange exercise. His feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no further. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. So it was really a joyous moment for the whole family. His brothers and sister, along with his parents, came near him, encouraged him, and cheered him. The young seagull successfully made his first flight.